help us find her. She's got 2 kids. She's my best friend. She's my little sister. We need to get her back. Please help us.
A sister's plea for help broke hearts as she went viral on TikTok with her posts. Her sister and best friend was also a mother of 2 who claimed that she would never leave her kids prior to vanishing. The chronicled investigation on social media led to Madeline Kingsbury's case being spread all over the world. When an arrest was made and answers were found, a mission for justice began.
As much as I would love to never talk about this again because of how horrible it's been, I will tell her story over and over again happily for the rest of my life if I can help people like her get away from situations like that.
You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I am Brooke Mckenna, but today is about Madeline Kingsbury, her family, and her justice. Now, this is a case that I was not aware of during the investigation. However, I feel like at this point, with all of the information out, with her family doing the 48 hours episode that I will have linked down below, they really want to share her story in hopes that others in her situation will learn how to get out, and just simply so Madeline can have the spotlight. And I also want to let you know that they have a GoFundMe up, and they also have a merch site. I will have both linked down below. They are selling shirts. I'm going to be getting one myself. This says Justice for Madeline on the front, and then on the back, their slogan, "We will remain loud." I really would love for our community to be able to support their mission. Also, Madeline's children, who must now live without their mother. I will also be leaving down below Madeline's sister Megan's TikTok, as she was the one who brought so much attention to her sister's case in the midst of her grieving, in the midst of her fear that she could not find her sister. She was being so brave and doing interviews with the media. She was daily updating TikTok, letting everybody know what was happening, and she has continued to do so through her grief and through finding out the most horrific thing you can ever find out about a loved one. So it's 2023 in Winona, Minnesota, and a 26-year-old mother had last been seen on March 31st. Now, the next day, she was officially reported missing, and then on April 2nd, her family and her friends had organized a search, and an alert was finally issued for the 5'4", 135-pound brunette with hazel eyes. By the next day, the Winona police announced that the day that Madeline had vanished, she was actually last seen at her home. You see, that morning, she and the father of her children, who lived together but were separated at this point, dropped their 2 children off at daycare around 8 a.m. that morning, and they both headed home to get ready to do whatever they were doing for the day. For Madeline, that was getting ready for work. She was supposed to work at the Mayo Clinic that day, however, she never arrived, and later that day, she was meant to pick up those children from daycare, but that never occurred. Her family and friends were trying to contact her throughout the day and got no response, which was quite strange for her. And her sister Megan claimed that the last text that she had got from Madeline was around 8:15 in the morning, with her laughing at a photo that Megan had sent her. So her family began contacting the father of her children and technically her roommate, and he was saying that he was worried too. He hadn't heard from her since that morning, but he had picked up the kids that evening and taken them to his parents' home, so they were all safe. But when a friend of Maddie's heard that she was missing or not answering, that is when she went over to Madeline's house and would find it was eerily quiet. Nobody was home. Madeline had not returned from wherever she had been, and so that is when they officially called the police. Her family described Maddie as a bright, kind, hardworking, quirky, and giving woman. She was a wonderful mother to her 2 children, and she always accepted all people for exactly who they were. Her van even had a bumper sticker saying, "Please don't honk, I'm sensitive." At this point, the Winona police were asking all of her neighbors for their security camera footage, or to at least look at it, to see if Madeline or her van, which was a 2014 dark blue Chrysler Town & Country, could be seen in these videos. They also asked the residents to report any suspicious activity that occurred between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Winona police said that they considered her disappearance involuntary and suspicious. She was an endangered missing woman. Maddie's neighbor would come forward saying that that day that she vanished, they had seen her van backed into the driveway, which they never saw prior. At a press conference with Maddie's family, her sister Megan pleaded for help from the public. They offered a $50,000 reward, and police were receiving tips claiming that a van similar to Madeline's was actually seen driving down Country Road 12 and then going southbound on Highway 43 away from Winona. And then later, the similar van that they believed was her van was going the opposite way back towards Winona on that same highway. This allegedly happened between 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. and then the van remained at Madeline's home the rest of the day. Police didn't say who was driving the car or if they knew this information, but searches were conducted along that highway and they found nothing. However, when they got a search warrant for Madeline's home and went inside, they found that her wallet, her jacket, and her phone were still inside. However, there was no sign of a struggle and she was not there. Her sister Megan was doing everything she could to find her sister, and that's when she took to TikTok for help.
TikTok, I need you to do your thing. I need your help. This is my sister, Madeline Kingsbury. She's missing. My family and I are in Winona, Minnesota, working with investigators, huge groups of people. We had a search party of friends, family, and peers go out yesterday. Nothing. Help us find her. She's got 2 kids. She's my best friend. She's my little sister. We need to get her back. Please help us.
Now, the father of Madeline's children, who is believed to be the last person to see her, this was a man she was no longer in a relationship with, but lived with. He claimed that he had left the home in Madeline's van around 10 a.m. after they had together dropped off the kids. He said he went to run errands from his storage unit that day with plans to drop off some items at his parents' house and bringing other items to his storage unit in Winona. He said when he left around 10 a.m., he had stopped to get gas before driving south to his parents, realizing that the items he had actually needed to go in a storage unit, and then he turned around and drove back. He said when he got back home, it was around 11:30 a.m., and his car was still at the house, and that was the thing. He said that he was supposed to take Madeline's van that day because he had all these items, and Madeline was going to take his car to work. However, his car was still sitting in the driveway. Now, he assumed that Maddie had carpooled to work, and so he emptied out the van and then he stayed at the home for the rest of the afternoon. He claimed that he had texted Maddie throughout the day and she didn't respond, so he then went and picked up the kids from daycare like they were supposed to alone. He then drove them to his parents' home. Now, the daycare owner would say that when the kids were picked up by their father that evening, they were asking where their mom was, and he didn't answer, only telling them that they were going to see their grandparents. Cell phone records were obtained, and they found that around 10:29 a.m., the father of the children texted Maddie's phone, got gas in the van and stuff, ready to go, gonna leave soon. When do you want to leave? Maddie didn't answer, and so the father of the children texted her, "You just gonna stay home?" Then at around 1:33 p.m., the father, who claimed that he was back at the house at this point, said, "I'm back and my car is still here. You get a ride or something?" Again, she didn't respond. Now, Maddie did have a new boyfriend at this time, an Army veteran named Spencer Sullivan. They had reconnected on Tinder after knowing each other in college. Spencer also knew the father of her children, knew that they had 2 kids together, and didn't really know where that relationship stood, but knew that Madeline wanted to have a relationship with him. So Spencer was called into the police department for an interview, and Spencer would say that he had work the morning of her disappearance. By April 4th, the Winona Police Department contacted Health and Human Services about Maddie's children, claiming that they needed to be placed on a 72-hour hold until their mother's whereabouts were found because they were unknown and suspicious. It was reported that the children were at the father's home, or the father's parents' home, and so this was concerning because he didn't actually have custodial rights to them. Madeline had full custody. So the police arrived to the father's parents' home to take the children, and the father and his parents allegedly refused to cooperate or let the social workers even meet with the children. The father allegedly took the 2-year-old son inside, locked the door, and then was heard yelling, cuss words. When the children was finally obtained, the father was said to be unwilling to give them any belongings for the children, so the children left with only the clothes on their backs. A week after her disappearance, Madeline had still not been located. Nearly 2,000 volunteers joined to search for her that day. Police were then asking the residents to check their own properties to look for anything out of place. Dozens of tips were coming in every day. The police were claiming that they were serving multiple search warrants. But the same day, Winona County officials filed a petition stating that the children were in need of protective services, citing the behavior, condition, and environment could be dangerous or cause injury to the children. So an emergency protective care hearing began that day on April 7th, but the decision was not made that day. And so the children were then in the custody of CPS, but they were living with Madeline's parents at this point. Though the public did not know this at this time because their location was not disclosed for their own safety. Maddie was still updating TikTok. She spoke about Easter Sunday without Maddie and with her kids.
Easter Sunday and my sister is still missing. Police and other law enforcement are obviously still searching. Everyone's frustrated and we just can't figure out where she is. My sister should be coloring Easter eggs and eating candy with her kids today, and she can't.
The searches continued, but it was filled with so much frustration.
All right, TikTok, it's Tuesday the 11th, 10:30 this morning. I've been up for quite a while, doing some more media interviews and things to help spread the word even more about my sister Madeline, who is still missing. Don't really have a lot of updates, which is frustrating. I know it is for everyone trying to help. It's frustrating for us too. The police are frustrated. It's just, it sucks.
On April 12th, 12 days since Maddie had last been seen, the father of Madeline's children was identified as Adam Fravel. He then made a statement through his lawyer. You see, these two had met in college and had an on-again, off-again relationship. He claimed to the public through his lawyer that he was cooperating with police at every turn. He had sat down for multiple interviews. He stated he had nothing to do with Maddie's disappearance, saying, "I want the mother of my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old to be found and brought home safely. I want that more than anything." Law enforcement advised me on April 2nd that they would not recommend that I attend the press conference or that I assist in the searches due to safety concerns. However, my non-attendance and silence has been inferred by many as a sign of apathy or worse. That could not be farther from the truth. I want Maddie home and for her to be able to be with our 2 children. God bless the Kingsbury family and please bring her home safely. Though that day, a Winona County judge ordered for the children to remain in the care of social services, and this was due to Maddie's friends and family voicing their concerns about Adam. Meanwhile, the searches for Maddie were being conducted daily, investigating every single tip that had come in. Her sister Megan wanted to be the one to find her because she didn't want any other family member to have to go through that. And she said she would start talking to Maddie while she was out searching. And Megan then told TikTok how she believed law enforcement was handling her sister's case.
You know, I've been using the word frustrated a lot, and I just want to make sure that, we as a family are not frustrated with police at all. They're tirelessly working around the clock. It's just in a sense of like, we just want to find out where my sister is, and the police do too. So the frustration isn't with them at all. I just wanted to make that very, very clear.
So the TikTok community began to follow this case, commenting their thoughts and advice. They wanted to support Maddie and her family however they could. And Megan continued to provide updates. Often, occasionally, it would be daily. But unfortunately, many times her sister couldn't give an update because there wasn't any more information being found. But what Megan could do was talk about memories she had with her sister.
I made my favorite cocktail. It's a gin aviation. And I remember making it for Madeline once when she was here, sitting here on this couch with me, and she never drank. She hadn't really for years, she was focused on being a mom. Tried to gracefully drink it even though she hated it. she was really sweet like that. You know, she never wanted to hurt anybody's feelings, even with something like she didn't like a drink that I made. You know, it's not a big deal. I really miss her a lot.
On April 26th, almost a month since her disappearance, Winona PD asked property owners in Winona and Fillmore counties to report any old wells, old homestead, windmills, or sinkholes that they could search. They were also asking them to place a blue check mark in an easy visible place on their home if they consented to their property being searched.
It has unfortunately reached the 1 month mark for my sister Madeline Kingsbury being missing.
A vigil was held by friends and family who were all wearing blue ribbons for her. It was heartbreaking and it was heartfelt. On June 1st, Madeline was going to turn 27. That was her birthday. Her family hoped that her birthday would inspire someone to say something. They asked the community to put on blue lights to light the way home for Maddie, and her father posted a heartbreaking video on Facebook for her birthday, wishing he could celebrate with her, but he said he couldn't pass up the opportunity to sing her happy birthday as he always did. And trust me, this is going to make you emotional.
Good morning, everybody. It's Madeline's 27th birthday today. And when she was a little girl, she was always very super excited about birthdays. And she, when she was enjoying her birthday parties, I think she was more excited about planning the next one for the next year than what was going on that day. And she's always said when she was a kid she never wanted to grow up. I think maybe because she wanted to have fun birthday parties. But anyways, it's her 27th birthday today. And we wish she was here with us to celebrate with her. And I'm known in my family for singing happy birthday to everybody, either in person or over the phone. And I'm sure not going to miss doing that today. So I'll put you all through the torture. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Maddie. Happy birthday to you, and many more. We love you, Maddie. Happy birthday.
Now, on June 5th, the father of Madeline's children, Adam, was scheduled to go to trial over the custody of the children. However, this was canceled because he filed a new petition for sole custody of the children, saying that they still needed to be in protective custody because their mother isn't around to make decisions. So this case was moved to family court and it was delayed. However, 2 days after this, when he was fighting for custody of his children, he would be arrested. He was being held on a murder charge with no formal charges at this point. It would soon be revealed to the public that Maddie had been found. But her sister Megan went on TikTok that morning unaware of the news that was to come that day.
Hey TikTok, good morning, happy Wednesday. I don't have an update, really. Maddie's still missing. I think it's day 68. 69.
Her next update would be confirming that arrest.
Adam Freeble has officially been arrested. Finally, he's been arrested.
On June 8th, over 3 months of searching, 69 days missing, a press conference from the Winona police would reveal that a deputy had been searching off Highway 43 that afternoon, and around 1:30 p.m., due to some information and some tips that had come in and emerged in this case due to an electronic device, he searched a certain area. This was just north of Mabel, Minnesota, near the border of Iowa, and he would find remains in the brush in a wooded area next to a gravel road.
We are here today to announce that human remains were found yesterday in Fillmore County. This morning, the Southern Minnesota Regional Medical Examiner's Office performed an autopsy. Law enforcement has confirmed the remains are those of Madeline Kingsbury. Unfortunately, while this discovery is not what we were hoping for, we are thankful to be able to bring Maddie home to her family. The area had been previously searched, but Maddie's body was covered and concealed in such a manner that she was not visible.
This was the same highway that her van was seen driving down, and the area was also located within minutes of a property belonging to the Fravel family.
We, from the beginning, thought that Adam had something to do with this, and so we think that the right person is in custody.
The next day, Adam Fravel was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and the death of Maddie Kingsbury. His bail was set at $1 million, and the medical examiner determined that her manner of death was homicide and the cause of death was homicidal violence. It was revealed that Maddie's body was wrapped in what appeared to be a bedsheet closed with duct tape. There was a knotted towel wrapped around her head and her neck, and these bed sheets were believed to be from Maddie's home, and a sheet from an air mattress was missing. But soon enough, court documents began to reveal a lot more in this case that hadn't been made public. So they revealed that during interrogations with Adam only a few days after Maddie had vanished, he had told police that his relationship with Maddie wasn't working. They had separated, that Maddie was in a relationship with somebody else that she had told him about 2 weeks prior. He said that she was going to try to find an apartment for her and the children. And this is when police asked Adam if he had ever mentioned Gabby Petito, as they had gotten a tip about this. Adam then admitted to being infatuated with the Gabby Petito case, where a 22-year-old was missing after traveling with her boyfriend. Her body was found strangled to death and her boyfriend was charged. Adam admitted that he told Maddie that if she did not listen up, she would end up like Gabby. But he said he was just trying to make a joke. However, her friends said that after watching news coverage of Gabby, Adam turned to Maddie, choked her, and pinned her to the couch. Though Adam was asked if they had ever had physical altercations as a couple, and he said, oh no. But the police had already been told at this point by Maddie's friends and family that Adam had become abusive after the birth of the second child. He was emotionally abusive, physically, and controlling. He also didn't have a job for years. He played video games all day and relied on Maddie for the finances. Anytime he made any money, he didn't spend it on Maddie and the kids, but himself. A friend said around 2 or 3 years prior, they were on a video call with Maddie when Adam entered the room, began talking about how the house is so dirty. Maddie was saying that maybe he should help her with that, and that is when he hit her in the face. One of the family members said that Adam put his hands around Maddie's neck at one point, and she had red marks on the side of her neck the next day. Investigators had also found phone records of Adam and Maddie, and they found a screenshot on Maddie's phone of a conversation between the two in 2021 about the alleged abuse. Maddie had said, I'm not really okay with or over the fact that you put your hand around my neck and pushed me down in front of the kids earlier. So don't. Not okay with it at all, but especially with them there. And Adam replied, you'll adjust. To which Maddie responded, the F I will. A month prior to her disappearance, a friend of Maddie's said that Maddie came to them asking how to get out of an abusive relationship, saying, if anything happens to me, know that Adam did it. I would never leave my kids. She confided in this friend, and she hadn't confided this in her family, that she had been beaten by him for years, but she didn't say anything and she stayed with him because of the kids. Then a week prior to her disappearance, she had allegedly told Adam that she was getting her own place and had her own boyfriend. It was said that Adam got emotional and was upset about another man raising his kids. Maddie then texted her boyfriend Sullivan, he knows, I'm sorry. He said, it's okay. Did you tell him? She said yes. He was asking what was wrong and I can't keep lying. Maddie's new boyfriend, Spencer Sullivan, said that Maddie would have to turn off her phone tracking anytime she came to see him because Adam would text her nonstop. Adam would not allow Maddie to talk about or talk to her boyfriend in his presence. The night that Maddie vanished after her family had contacted the police, text messages were found from Adam and a family member where Adam was panicking because they had already contacted the police. He wrote, she hasn't been gone for a day yet, so I'm not freaking out, but everyone else is. He said, wow, that's a little out of bounds about them calling the police. It hasn't even been 24 hours, and I saw her this morning. It turned out that his timeline from that morning of her disappearance could be tracked due to surveillance footage in the area. Police found that around 9:44 a.m., Maddie's van was in the driveway of the home and a person in a light-colored jacket was seen walking out in front of the van, taking off the license plate. 3 minutes later, the same person came back and put on the license plate. 9:55 a.m., the same person got into Maddie's van, and at 10 a.m., the van was no longer in the driveway. At 10:02, the van was seen at a local gas station, and the license plate could be more clearly seen at this point. Investigators realized this was no longer Maddie's license plate, but the license plate from Adam's car. The same person, the light-colored jacket believed to be Adam, was seen pumping gas. Half an hour later, at 10:31 a.m., the van was back in the driveway, and nearly an hour later, at 11:26 a.m., the van was seen leaving. From 11:44 to 11:59, the van was seen heading southbound on Highway 43, and then from 12:44 to 1 p.m., the van is seen heading back to Winona on the same highway. 1:28 p.m., the van is seen back in the driveway of their home. Yet he said that he had gotten home at 11:30 and stayed there the rest of the day. They believe there was around 45 minutes unaccounted for in Adam's story. But investigators, as they put together all of these pieces, began to believe that the location where Maddie's remains had been found had been hidden and not seen by the searchers who had previously searched that area due to being routinely maintained by one or more of the Fravel family members. They also found that Adam studied computer science and was very tech savvy. It was believed that he turned his location off on his phone, and he deleted location data from his iPhone and his iCloud. He also disabled advertising ID that disabled third-party tracking by apps. He also had taken down the cameras at Maddie's house and his parents' house, removing the SD cards. Then a neighbor of Adam's parents' home stated that his trail cameras had actually captured Adam riding a Polaris Ranger on the property near this home with a shovel in the bed. When investigators got a search warrant for his parents' home, cadaver dogs alerted to the bed of that ATV and the shovel. Maddie's parents, who had temporary custody of the children, filed a motion to prohibit Adam to have any contact with the children after he was arrested, because he, at this point, was still allowed supervised visits, and they were afraid if he was granted bail, he would still want those visits and would be at risk to the children. However, the judge, for whatever reason, denied to prohibit Adam from contact. Prosecutors were seeking a tougher sentence, saying that Maddie was treated with cruelty in her death. And then on October 2nd of 2023, by a grand jury, Adam was indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder instead of second. His motive was believed to be distress due to the financial dependence on Maddie and the possibility of the end of their relationship. Maddie also had a death benefit of $170,000, which had no beneficiary, but it was believed that it would end up going to her children, who Adam was trying to get custody of. In January 2024, Adam filed a motion to dismiss the first-degree murder charge and move the future trial out of Winona County. His defense claimed that there was no evidence, or not enough, for him to be tried on that charge, and also they wanted to suppress some of that evidence, including the statement from Adam to the police on April 2nd. They claimed he was not given a Miranda warning, but it was found that he didn't need to be because he was not in custody at that time. In June 2024, he was officially granted the change in venue. A motion was then granted for a restrictive order of audio and video statements made by Adam to law enforcement due to them containing a substantial amount of material, facts, and information that had not previously been made public. But Adam's family spoke to 48 Hours, and they said that there are 2 sides to this story. That the shovel that it was alerted to by the cadaver dogs was simply because he had used it to pick up a dead raccoon. His family believes that investigators should look at Maddie's boyfriend, Spencer Sullivan. Spencer Sullivan told 48 Hours that he's haunted because a few weeks before Maddie had been murdered, she told him that she loved him, and he was too chicken to say it back. Maddie's family said, unfortunately, this fight is not over. They must now fight to find justice for Maddie. It was said that Madeline was loved by all who met her, who were lucky enough to meet her, that her smile lit up the room, but her kindness shone brighter than that. And her father, David, said, the pursuit of justice for Madeline is worth every ounce of strength and effort we can muster, not just for her alone, but also for every person suffering from domestic violence and abuse. You have not heard the last from her. Her voice will remain loud. They were awaiting trial and justice for their sister, their daughter, their mother. But Megan may have gotten a sign that justice is going to be given.
My sister Madeline was into like tarot cards and crystals and all that stuff. Just did my first personal reading, just very simple, past, present, future. I have to show you what came up. So look at this. Past is the Fool. It's like new beginnings. So in the past, the investigation was here. Presently, the Emperor, stability, control. And then for the future, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Megan also spoke about a resource for domestic violence called morethanAphone.org, where they will provide untraceable phones for survivors of domestic violence that need it in order not to be tracked by their abusive spouse. Madeline Kingsbury deserved so much better than this, and so does every person going through domestic abuse, domestic violence. I send my love to you, my strength to you. I will leave some contact information down below, and I really hope that anyone out there listening to this, if you feel like this case hit a little bit too close to home, you don't have to live this way. Please go and support the Kingsbury family if you can. Talk about Madeline Kingsbury's story. So don't forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces.